Hello folks, welcome back to The Slice. The second round is all done at the Australian Open, and Federer, Nadal, and Del Potro are bringing their game to the next level. And I think that their game is at the place where either of them, any of them, could win it right now, the whole tournament. And I'm going to break down what happened in their second round matches and why they're so hot right now in this episode of The Slice. Shout out to Fila for providing me with the shirt that I'm wearing in this episode. It's super clean. Almost as clean as Federer, Del Potro, and Rafael Nadal are playing right now. Their second round matches were all, I think, a good test of where their level is at, and we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see how they're going to play against harder opponents. But from what we saw in the second round, we can say that they are seriously in good shape right now to make a deep run at the Australian Open. So I'm going to start with Del Potro first and get to Federer and Nadal later. But Del Potro played Karen Khachanov, the young guy, big guy from Russia. Karen Khachanov's body and Del Potro, they have like similar height, similar stature, similar movement around the court. Karen Khachanov could just be a young Del Potro, but that's pretty hard to say right now because Del Potro's a legend. And if he didn't have this many injuries in his career, I think he would have more than just one Grand Slam at this point. But their game last night was absolutely insane. It was the cleanest, biggest hitting I've seen all tournament. It went 4 sets. Del Potro won in 4. But the amount of like just forehand crushing balls, and then Karen Khachanov can actually move really well for a big guy. The defense in that match, the hitting was insane. It was such a fun match to watch. And it was a treat in the second round already. There's been some insane matches. A lot of 5-set matches. I saw Julian Benneteau take out David Gonfin yesterday on like an outside court. Just there's really high level of tennis so far at this year's Australian Open, which is awesome to see. And we all expected that from the first tournament, first major of the year. So just looking at the stats a little bit. Yeah, Del Potro looked very good, except for the heat. He looked like he was getting punished by the heat because he was playing outside in the sun. The match lasted about 3.5 hours. So yeah, he was dying out there. But as he goes on from here, he might get more night matches, and then if the temperatures drop later in the week, then he should be even feeling better. And if his fitness is kind of the one thing that it's like it could go, but if he's feeling good, super dangerous. And Federer fans are going to be scared when he's making his way through the draw looking like this. But kudos to Khachanov. Like I said before, he played really good last night. He really impressed me with his movement and his defense. His backhand's solid. His forehand is massive, and his serve is massive. He hit 28 aces and 73 winners in the match against Del Potro. I still lost like pretty handily, like 4 sets. He won 1 set in a tiebreaker, but 73 winners. It's insane. Just huge hitting. But yeah, Del Potro was looking good. His backhand was looking better than it did at the U.S. Open. He was actually hitting over it and hitting a few backhands up the line, which can be really unexpected. But off of his first serve, he just gets to hit every second ball with his forehand, and his forehand is just insane. The ball doesn't even like kick up off of the ground when he hits his forehand. It just skips. It's like skipping out off the court either way. And it's just so hard to defend against. You're always under pressure when he's serving. And the key for him is going to be able to get in return games of better players than Khachanov, who are going to be more consistent, like a Federer or like a Djokovic. So really impressed with Del Potro right now, and I think he's a huge threat to Federer's run to the final in the bottom half of the draw. Now, Federer played a dangerous opponent in Jan-Lennard Struff last night, and a lot of people might not know who that was, but he is no easy cookie to beat because he's got big strokes. He's like 6'5", and he likes to attack and come forward, just kind of like Federer. So I think he's the type of player who would cause upsets early on in a tournament of big seeds because the way he plays, his shots are so big. He was hitting serves like over like 205. Well, I mean, everyone was, but his like average was close to 200, which is insane. And he didn't really give Federer any rhythm, so that can be really dangerous in the early part of a tournament when Federer's still trying to find his rhythm. Play a guy like Jan-Lennard Struff who hits the ball hard and just goes for it. It looks like he didn't give him a lot of rhythm because of how hard he hits it, and he also missed a lot, did a lot of unforced errors. But Federer, thankfully, he was strong through the match, and he served pretty well. His forehand looked great, and his backhand looked better, I would say, than the first round. He was hitting over it more, being more aggressive, which is good to see, and he had to be because like usually Federer always takes away the time from his opponent, but Struff was taking away his time as well, and he was reacting pretty well. I thought he was moving his feet to get into his backhand to rip it at him, especially when Struff came to the net. He was just ripping it right at Struff's body a lot of the time. But you know, you got to do what you got to do, right? But Federer, yeah, his serving percentage. Let's just look at this. He served 17 aces, which is pretty good. getting up there. His first serve percentage was 58%, so a little bit low. I'd want him to be over 60. I think 60% is the mark of a good serving night. You want to be above that. But when he did get his service in, like, he was doing really well. So I think that in the third round, he's going to play Richard Gasquet, old pro. I think Richard Gasquet is going to give him a lot more rhythm. And I think Federer's game can really open up in the third round. And just like last year when he played Berdych, I think that Federer's going to have a really good match and just show like where his level is at, which I think it's already good. We don't have to worry. But Federer's level could really open up against Gasquet with just some nicer balls, and he could be taking off from there because Querrey lost, so he's not going to play Querrey in the fourth round. So he's going to play another guy who's most people have never heard of in the fourth round, which is pretty crazy for the Australian Open. And Nadal played super solid against Leonardo Mayer, who's also a tough cookie. Hits a nice one-handed backhand. He won pretty handily, 3 close sets. He got broken once, just like Federer did, but he was looking good. Nadal got 73% of his first serves in, so that's really good. And that's what he's kind of been doing as of late. He's been not taking off his first serve, but he's just been really focusing on getting his first serve in, and that always puts pressure on the opponent because when Nadal got his first serve in, he won 80% of those points. So you do the math. If you get 73% of your serves or points you play on your serve when they're first serve and you win 80% of those, that's a high number of points that you're winning on your serve, and it's hard to get broken then. And if you don't get broken, you don't lose, really. So Nadal played super clean, and he's playing at a high level. I think his level is pretty much the same as it was last year, when he obviously almost won, took it to the final. But he is playing Dimitri Dzumhur. These names, man, they're killing me. I look like I can't talk, but it's just because these names are so crazy. I think he's from Kazakhstan. But he's playing Dzumhur next. He is a tough cookie. He's a shorter guy, but he's really athletic, can hit the ball hard, and really tough. So that should be a better test for Nadal as well in the third round, and that'll be another good predictor of where his level's at. Finally, Djokovic played Monfils last night, and this was a match that I hyped up because it would really show us where Djokovic's level is at. He started the match brutally. I thought Monfils was going to win in 3 sets after the first couple of games because Djokovic was hitting balls in the net, looked terrible, looked like he was thinking and he was nervous way too much. And then I tuned back in later, and he had won the middle 2 sets, and it was really hot out there. It was like right in the middle of the day, playing in the heat, which Djokovic might not be used to because previously he would have been in night sessions, but now he's ranked lower. And Monfils was looking good because he won Doha earlier in the year. So that was a tough match for Djokovic, but he really turned it around. And by the end, he was kind of looking like an old Djokovic, honestly. Because I was thinking about this. His elbow's injured, right? And he says it's not 100%. But the rest of his body's fine. He's still one of the best movers on tour, probably the best defender on tour. And his backhand should just be just as good because he's using his left hand on it more than his right. So if he can get the rust off, I think it was mostly just rust in the match last night. Watch out for Djokovic because we kind of count him out because he's been injured. But like last year, what did Federer and Nadal do after they came back from injury? I don't know. Same thing could happen for Djokovic because he is an all-time great. So also in other news, Genie Bouchard, her little magic run of 1 win at the Australian Open came to an end after losing 6-2, 6-2 to Simona Halep, the #1 player in the world. Garbine Muguruza lost last night. There's so many upsets in the women's side of the game. They're like barely even upsets anymore. So it's like, well, who's going to make it to the final this year? But we'll see. And I think that Halep's looking really good. She hit some insane shots and defense against Genie Bouchard, who likes to attack. But, both women's and men's side are shaping up to be really nice. I'm excited to see Dimitrov and Kyrgios tonight or tomorrow if you're in Australia, if you're my Australian fans. But, yeah, this tournament is just, I think, everything I expected so far. The seeds are heating up. Federer, Del Potro, and Nadal, I think, are right now the hottest players on the men's side, and we might be sleeping on Novak Djokovic. That's what I'm thinking about right now. But we're going to have to keep seeing as the tournament progresses. But tell me what you think. Tell me who you think is a sleeper cell right now in the men's game. Who's coming up the ranks and going to be causing problems for big players later on in the tournament that nobody's talking about. And also tweet at me on Twitter at @TheSliceTennis, and we can talk about that. I've heard from my compatriot, Matt Bradshaw from Coffee Break Tennis, that we might be having a little meetup at either Indian Wells or Cincinnati and have a little YouTube tennis fans party somewhere. So stay tuned for more of that. Check us out on Twitter. But thanks for watching. And I'm saying, watch out for Federer, Nadal, and Del Potro. These 3 boys are bad, and they are on a mission right now to go deep in the Australian Open of 2018. Hey Slice fans, thanks again for watching. Head to theslicetennis.com to buy this Ringer shirt so you can get recognized as a tennis expert all around the world. It supports the Slice, and they're 100% made in Canada. Also, go to our Instagram page at @TheSliceTennis to see all the coolest tennis content during the Australian Open and vote on match matches, who you think's going to win, who you think's going to lose. Thanks for watching.